Welcome to the 10th Hayley-Roxanna Crafts quick cross stitch video, where I share information, hints and tips on one area of cross stitch in a short video. In this video I'm focusing on how to do quarter stitches on Evenweave fabric. Just like with the quarter stitches and other partial stitches on Ada fabric, quarter stitches and other partial stitches when used on Evenweave are put in by a designer to smooth edges and round corners. This is a reminder of how I show them on my charts. Do bear in mind other designers may show them in a different way, so it is best to consult the instructions before you actually start stitching. There can also be some variation in how they are constructed. I will just be demonstrating how I do them and how I intend them to be done on my designs. A quarter stitch is literally a quarter of a full cross stitch, or half of one of the two stitches that make up the full cross stitch. It is also important to remember when stitching on Evenweave or other fabrics with high counts, you are normally stitching over two. So one square on the chart is equivalent to 4 squares on your fabric. So if the chart is showing a quarter stitch in the bottom left corner of the square, to stitch that on Evenweave, you want to come up in the bottom left corner of the corresponding square on your fabric, like so. And then, if you remember, we are working in a 2 by 2 square. We are going to come down in what is the centre of that square, where there is an actual hole. So we go through the hole in the centre to form a quarter stitch in the bottom left corner of the square we're working on. If the quarter stitch is shown on the chart in the bottom right corner of the square, then to do that on the Evenweave fabric, we need to come up in the bottom right corner of our corresponding square. So if we're taking this as the corresponding square, that 2 by 2, and then we'd go down into the centre or through the centre hole of that same square, like so. If you were doing the full cross, you'd be going down into this corner over here. Okay, so that's the quarter stitch in the bottom right corner. If the square is shown on the chart in the top left corner of the square, then we would come up in the middle of our corresponding square on our fabric, like so. So we're now working in this 2 by 2 square, and you would go down into the top left corner of that square to form a quarter stitch in the top left corner. If the quarter stitch is in the top right corner of the square on the chart, then again we would need to come up into the middle of the corresponding square on our Evenweave fabric. So this time we are working in this 2 by 2 square, and we would go down into the top right corner of that square to complete our quarter stitch in the top right corner. So the quarter stitches can be worked either from the outside hole into the centre, or from the centre hole to the outside hole, for whichever corner you want the stitch in. It is just personal preference. Like I said earlier, a quarter stitch is a quarter of a full cross stitch, so you can have up to 4 of them in the same square on your fabric, just like I've done here. The quarter stitches could all be in different colours, or some of them could be in the same colours and others in different colours. And they can also be combined with 3/4 stitches, which I will demonstrate in my 3/4 stitch videos. If you are stitching over one square on Evenweave, it is unlikely there will be quarter stitches in the design, purely because they'd be too difficult to do due to how your fabric is weaved. There's just too little threads to actually pierce to get a quarter stitch, and it'd be quite fiddly. If you have any questions about quarter stitches, please pop them in the comments. In next week's video, I will demonstrate 3/4 stitches on Ada fabric.